Welcome to Leading Life, the show all about living to the fullest and leading life on your terms.
You will learn tips, tools, and strategies for achieving total personal transformation.
I'm Bren.
And I'm Cam.
This is Leading Life.
Hello, and welcome back to another awesome episode of Leading Life. Today we have another interview, actually, and it's with Daniel Kennedy. I'm Cam.
And I'm Bren.
And today we have Daniel here on Skype, and basically I actually met him through the Entrepreneur Society, that group that he had going on there, and he's got some awesome motivational photos and stuff like that, so I'm really excited to hear his story today. How are you doing, Daniel?
Doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
Very good, very good. Very excited to have you on the podcast. This is actually the second time we've had a special guest, so that makes you a little bit special, Daniel.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Good. So, I guess diving into the show, first thing I think our listeners want to know is what's gotten you here to this point where you were being interviewed on podcasts, and, kind of how'd you get to where you are, and what do you do?
Okay, so a little bit about me, man. Like, I've been on a few podcasts now. I haven't been so much about trying to build my personal brand. I've been more or less building my internet marketing company. I was born in Auburn, New York. It's a small town in Auburn, New York. I grew up near a maximum security prison, pretty ghetto. When I was 7 years old, my mother passed away from diabetes. She passed away from diabetes, and I had to go live with my grandmother. I lived with my grandmother until I was about 7 or 12. I grew up with my sister and my cousins kind of were hanging out with the rougher crowds, and I thought that was cool. So I'm I gotta hang out with these guys. I gotta meet these guys. I started hanging out with 16-year-olds when I was 11 years old, and I started to go down the wrong path. There was guys that were selling drugs, and I'm not saying I was a part of that, but I was around the whole environment and the ecosystem that kind of drove me to kind of be a little bit of a better kid. And when I was about 12 years old, my grandmother's house caught on fire, and I had to live. I had to move with my dad. I didn't really know much about him. I saw him once or twice. So I went from living in the ghetto of central New York and near a maximum security prison town, from going to the suburbs of Chicago, where my dad is a legal analyst for JP Morgan Chase. So it's if you could see the kind of the change, is hey, here's the ghetto. Here's when you're eating ramen noodles and SpaghettiOs, 3 out of 7 days a week. Now you're getting shipped to suburbs of Chicago, where I'm living in a really nice house, really nice neighborhood. All the houses are $500,000 plus, and I'm just whoa, It was a big change for me, and I was going down a really bad path, and going to live with my father definitely took me to kind of put me in a different environment and show me that there's more opportunity than just that little small town in central New York, and living literally 25 minutes outside of the city. The amount of opportunities, the amount of people I've met were insane. So I moved there when I was 12, ended up going to high school over there. I had a really good GPA. I'm not going to say I was a bad student, because I truly wasn't, and then from there, I'm still in college right now. I'm actually located in Ohio. I go to the University of Toledo, but I don't even think I'd be going to college if I didn't take that move to from Central New York to Chicago. It was just kind of a huge life change, and I went from seeing what it's like to grow up in an ecosystem where there's kids smoking weed when they're 11 years old. I was smoking cigarettes when I was 11, 12 years old. It's just and then going to suburbs of Chicago and seeing executives in a white collar area that's truly booming right now with business, and the economy is amazing.
Absolutely, dude. The contrast there is hilarious. I can imagine the shift in your brain when you were becoming to when you started being around those people who had their life together, right?
Especially at that age, that changes everything, because when you're young like that, you are molded so easily by the environment, by the people around you, by who you're looking up to, and even the school you're at, that and that's huge, man. I'm happy for you.
Oh yeah, completely. So take it like this. So I get there when I'm 12 years old. I have a whole summer. I don't know a single person, right? They moved me out there when it's the beginning of the summer. I start school up in late August, early September. I had that whole summer, right? And I had nothing to do. The only thing I had was my dad's laptop. So That whole summer I spent teaching myself. I taught myself HTML. I taught myself Photoshop. I tried becoming a rapper. That died out pretty quick. But but my thing is like I learned the essential, tools and like knowledge that really took me to where I am with internet marketing now. Like I learned Photoshop, I learned HTML. Like I learned. I used to do this. I used to take like there was MySpace was a huge thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had 1 million views on MySpace on my Phantom Productions page. It was I was showing like showcasing a bunch of artists. I was like marketing for artists. I didn't even really realize what I was doing, but I was a young kid. I loved it. I love Photoshop. I love graphic design. But what I was doing is I had a little side hustle going when I was like 13, 14 years old, and I was selling MySpace layouts to rap artists. So I'd build them custom animated layouts, and I was making like $100 per layout. I'm thinking like, wow, this business is going to be the business of my life. I'm going to retire like at like 18 making MySpace layouts. I mean, obviously that's not realistic, but going through that whole situation where, you separate yourself from society and you really focus on, what you're good at and you want to really develop and you care about personal development and, building up your knowledge. That really took me to where I am today. I would never have had passion with Photoshop, with, HTML, with internet marketing if it wasn't for having that whole summer to do nothing except literally I would go down to the gas station. I didn't even have a bike. I would walk like a mile, go get a Monster, and then come back to my dad's house and then stay up probably from like 10 to like 3 in the morning, just like doing crazy stuff. Like I built a PayPal Fisher. We never actually used it, but we coded. This is my first project we ever did. I met some kid over like I think it was like Mies. There was like this little community game called Mies, but we made a PayPal Fisher where like it's I'm talking about like a PayPal Fisher where people think they're adding money into their PayPal account. We never actually launched it, but it was just cool to actually build that and have a way to send. It was just an awesome experience, man. I truly think that if that never really happened in my life, I didn't have that big gap, a period of time to find out what I was good at, I wouldn't be where I am.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I've had that as well. Like that moment where you just like, you find something that you're truly passionate about and you just tackle it and do it constantly and practice, or in your case, design layouts all night.
Yeah, man. And like I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Fruity Loops. You guys ever heard of Fruity Loops?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm still good with Fruity Loops. I used to make like rap beats and like stuff. All this stuff that I thought like I remember like my dad's like, oh, that's so stupid. Like that internet's never gonna go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like he's like he's working white collar job where you come in, you drive you put on the same gray suit every morning, you ride the same gray metro train to go to the same gray building every single day, and like he didn't realize like. I didn't even realize at the time of like what there really was out there to like, actually accomplish when it comes with the internet. And, there was a period of my time where I went from like really big into computers to like, I started getting like kind of funneled into the ecosystem in Chicago where now I'm playing sports and like the kids like I was around weren't messing with computers. They were the guys that were like playing lacrosse, like playing soccer, hanging out with girls, drinking once in a while. And I got caught up in that ecosystem when I was in high school. So like to me, that was kind of like a huge shift. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like I stopped doing like all that kind of shit for like probably a good like 3 years, right? And then after that 3-year gap kind of came, college came back and I got away from that ecosystem and I found myself in the same situation when I got into college. Not a lot of friends, same thing, got my laptop and like I just like fell back in love with like everything I loved before and just like I realized at that moment that it's like, wow, I really like gave up on my dreams for like a little bit because of my environment and my circle. You know what I mean? Because the people in the ecosystem I was put in, I gave up on my dreams, And then as soon as I got back into college, I was put in a similar situation like I was before, not really knowing anyone and basically being out on my own again. And that's kind of like what took me, sorry, causing a bite. That's kind of like what took me kind of where I am now. It's like, wow, a huge like shift again in my life. And it got me away from the ecosystem that kind of held me back from it a little bit. And then I got back into it. And now I'm literally like, I'm doing really well with it. And like, I'm not only the Entrepreneur Society, we're building a social media academy right now that we're launching in like, I want to say like 5 weeks. And it's going to be like an online social media academy. We can get certified for social media. So you can put on your resume and it's going to be like almost like a degree and a whole online course with the quizzes and tests.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of work though, dude. I'm a young kid. And it's just like, it's just making the decision to, if you're going to do it, you have to commit because like being young puts me at such a disadvantage right now because there's all these older guys that think they know it all already, and they think that they're the top of the world. And like, I got to go out there and compete with like guys that are like in their 30s and 40s when it comes to internet marketing. And like, when you're a 50-year-old business, like, you know, you say you've been in business for like 10 years, you're 50 years old, you started when you're 40, it's like a mom and pop shop. They're going to listen to a 30-year-old that's local than like, you know, a 20-year-old kid that's building a business online. You know what I mean?
How old are you now, Daniel?
I'm 20 years old.
You're 20? That's crazy because we're all young here. Cam, how old are you?
I'm 17. You know how old I am?
Yeah, so Cam's 17, Daniel's 20, and I'm 22.
Look at us, we're all in the same boat.
It's really cool to be in a podcast with young people like this because I totally know what you mean. You know, I mean, I think our youth, ultimately, I think it's a big advantage. It's huge, but there's definitely disadvantages to it too when it comes to trying to deal with, like you said, those people who have been in business for years and years and years, and they think of us young people as just naive, you know, going into it, you know, going to make mistakes, and which... it's just perfect. You know, you need to make mistakes to grow. So it's cool that you mentioned that. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, honestly, one of the biggest things too I've realized is like I have a pretty decent following on social media right now. And like, it's not about like, oh my God, I'm like building my personal brand. It's not about that. It's just because I feel like I care less about money, and I'm more focused on like actually going after what I've dreamt my whole life of doing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to be business coaches, life coaches, and to me, excuse, I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but it's complete bullshit. You know, there's people that are building a business, and the first business they ever ran is, you know, trying to teach other people how to build a business. You know what I mean? And it's just like, holy shit. You know, there's so many people out there that they only care about robbing the dollar, and it's at a young age. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like it's about money, and I feel like I kind of live by a quote: once you stop chasing money, that's when money comes. And I get the idea of like, you know, you really have to go after it, but I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing my dream. You know what I mean? Eventually, money's going to come based off my dream because my dream has a good projection on what my future is going to entail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think there's like a new wave of entrepreneurs, I think, and young people who are really driven not by money or by material things, but really by the mission behind it and the process that we're trying to achieve, right? You know, you're doing what you're doing because you have a mission behind it. It's not just for money or just for, you know, this small outcome. There's real purpose behind it.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, there's a reason why you love doing what you're doing, right? Because
exactly.
So that kind of like ties into a lot of your topics here. You said you wanted to speak about what college hasn't taught me and choosing your circle wisely. So, yeah, what do you have to say about that?
So, Cam, how old are you? You're 17 years old?
Yeah, I'm 17.
Have you? What grade are you in right now?
I actually just graduated high school.
Are you going to college?
I am not going to college.
Why is that? Like, is it like financial reasons, or just because you just don't want to go to college?
Well, the thing is school hasn't taught me much, to be completely honest, and I've probably learned more on the hours after school than I have during school, just through the internet and through studying and reading books and stuff like that. And the time that I've spent at the company and not in school has, you know, benefited my life tenfold. It's ridiculous. So I just figured, like, if I really wanted to learn something really bad, all I got to do is look into it enough. I feel like college or whatever, it kind of just like gives you the books to read. Well, I need to just go find those books and read as many as possible. You know what I mean?
Oh, completely agree. So like, my biggest thing is I'm going to be a junior in college. If anybody asks me, you know, I'm not the kind of person that like it completely shits on college, just because like there's so many other people out there that like have really strong opinions on like education, and like I respect people's views, you know, but in my personal opinion, the only reason I'm even in college right now, bro, and I could drop out right now and be completely fine. The reason I'm in college right now is because my grandmother grew up in a generation where, like, if you got the opportunity to go to college, that was like the best thing that could potentially happen to you. They didn't have the internet back in the, you know, like the, what was it, the 30s and the 40s, you know what I mean? Like, so it's a complete different perspective. So I think about it like that. Like, I'm getting a degree for my grandmother. I'm going to be like one of the, you know, there's a few people in my family, I have a pretty big Italian family, that are actually like went to college and graduated, right? So I want to be one of those people, just because my grandmother is like my mother to me. She took me when my mom passed away, and I want to, like, it's the degree's not, I know it's for me, you know, but it's mainly because I want to show her, you know, that like, listen, like I did it, you know, I made you proud, you know what I mean? And it's like I want to fly her out to my graduation and have her watch me get my degree, regardless of like if it means anything to me, it means something to her, you know what I mean? So that's my main reason for being in college right now. But honestly, bro, like, I remember it was my freshman year, I was sitting in a class, right? And this is the reason why I'm so against the idea of like the college and stuff. It's like they're teaching you how to become an employee, because I had to take this career development class. I'm a business major, and I'm sitting in class and they're teaching me how to write a resume. like write a resume to get a job. And I'm thinking to myself, get a job? You're teaching me how to get a job. You're not teaching me how to, build a business. This is business school. I thought we're building businesses. I didn't realize that we were looking for a job in business. You know what I mean? When I think you're going to school to learn about business, I think you're learning about how to create a business, your financial accounting. And don't get me wrong, you do learn things like that in some courses, but it's not that extensive as, when you come out and you're actually doing the financial accounting. Like, I'll be honest, I'm so bad with taxes. I recently had to hire somebody on so I didn't get screwed over taxes because, I have no idea what's going on with it. You know what I mean? And that's just a reflection of, I've taken accounting classes, bro, in college right now. And I did my accounting class. It was like a higher level financial accounting class. It was all online. They had to open up, they had opened all semester long. I literally waited till finals week, started the course. I finished the course in 5 days and got an A in it. And it was a really easy course. And it's like, holy shit, that didn't teach me anything, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's more people that go to college, and this is what really pisses me off, is there's so many people that go to college for the experience and the partying, right? I'm gonna be honest, I came into college and I was all about partying. I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk to this girl, I'm gonna get this girl's number, and that's what was on my mind. And I started to look back on these kind of things now, and there's so many people that go to college undecided. They're like, oh, I don't need to know what I want to what I want to do in my life now. It's like, holy shit, you know what I mean? There's people coming to college having no idea what they want to do with their life, and they're dropping $40K. They're about to be $40K in debt, just because for the experience, because they want to party and go to frat parties and talk to girls.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious you mention that, because when I was graduating high school, I didn't go to college, and I don't plan on going to college at all. But that was one of the main draws for me, because at the time I just wanted to party and have a good time. I wanted to play music. I wanted to drink with my friends. I wanted to party, meet girls, whatever, right? But nowadays, man, I couldn't even. I don't party. Sorry, I don't do that kind of thing. But back then, that was one of the main draws for me. You know what I mean? It's like, especially being in music, there's not a lot of music schools. I mean, with business, it's a lot the same with music. You go to a music school expecting them to teach you how to get into the industry and turn your music into a career and all these things. But oftentimes it's not what you think when you're going into college. And, you just dropped $40K. You can't just take the $40K back and say, yeah, isn't what I thought it was. You gotta have to bite the bullet and go through that experience, or you drop out and you're in debt, right? And a lot of my friends have dealt with that. I've seen countless friends go to college and just drop out, decide it's not what they wanted to do, and now they've got debt, and now they're working a job they don't want to work. Right? It's this vicious cycle that I find a lot of people get themselves into, because they buy into the belief that you have to go to college, when it's not true. You don't have to go to college, but if you have the right reasons and you're going to the right school, it's the right time, the right place, you can make college could be an amazing experience for you.
Oh, completely. And my main reason for even building a social media academy, and the main reason for it is because, dude, they don't teach you social media marketing, internet marketing in college. You know what I mean? That's not a thing. My thing is, I built a business on the internet, and my business is doing well. I run a social media marketing company. It's web development, social media marketing. And I built it to we're at 3 or 4 people right now, and to me that's cool. I'm 20 years old. We got a couple people on the team, and we're doing well. Everyone's doing well. And not saying we're comfortable, because we're grinding every single day, but we're in a stage right now where we're good. But my thing is this: I'm teaching social media marketing in an academy because I learned social media marketing from grinding my ass off since I was 12 years old and learning what works and what doesn't with the internet. There's teachers and professors that are 55 years old, bro. They're 55 years old teaching an entrepreneur class at the University of Toledo. Literally have never started a business, know nothing about entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? And they're not keeping up to date with actual entrepreneurship that's going on in our generation. And they're 55 years old teaching out of a small business management textbook. And it's what the hell? That textbook is I guess the principles of business go everywhere, but I really don't think there's 1 or 2 principles of entrepreneurship that really have been you know what I mean, the foundation for it. There's so many different topics that come into play with entrepreneurship, and they're changing every day. There's so many people building businesses on the internet right now, and entrepreneurship, that they're teaching out of a textbook is oh yeah, you get a business loan from a bank, you start up a bakery shop downtown Toledo. You know what I mean? It's it's not, oh, this is how you're going to build a business on the internet. This is how you convert followers into customers, into clients. And it's Holy shit.
It's definitely old school for sure. I can imagine, because things are changing so fast with technology and everything. I mean, look at what's happening with the internet. Anybody could go and build a business right now on the internet, and there's no discrimination, right? There's no it's the perfect opportunity. And I think colleges are way behind. The education system is way behind when it comes to our technological advances, and when it comes to just advances in society in general. I find we don't update the school system as often as we should. They're still teaching us stuff from 100 years old, or stuff that's 100 years old that's really not applicable in today's society. Sure, it's still knowledge, it's still important to know, but is it applicable? Is it gonna make your life better or make somebody else's life better? Like, where's the true value? That's my big question a lot.
A big thing that I noticed is that when I first realized what I really wanted, I needed an answer to how I can get it. You know, I wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to build a company, like a production company. I was like, how can this be successful? And the resource I went to was almost 100 years old, Think and Grow Rich. So that just goes to show that even stuff from almost 100 years ago is still not, you know, talked about in school at all. They don't tell you how to visualize and make sure, keep your eye on the ball so you can get good grades. You know, like, they don't teach you anything. They don't teach you how to, you know, get good relationships, be good in relationships, deal with people well. They don't teach you how to manage your emotions, your psychology. That's why 20% of the population is depressed right now. That's
the biggest thing, I think, is just being able to manage your own emotions. I mean, huge. Like, in school, I was an emotional wreck in school, man. I was an emotional wreck. And so were, like, at least 50% of the kids around me, emotional wrecks. And it's like, wow, this should be, like, our number one priority, is, like, putting some smiles on these kids' faces.
Dude, a big thing that I noticed is I was with a bunch of my old friends, like, this was a while ago, and, like, they were literally just conversing about the type of depression medication they're on. It was ridiculous. Wow. They're like, oh, you're on this? Oh, man, I've done that. It's not really fun. I got this new medication, and, you know, it kind of deals with... It was like, dude, you're literally on drugs. Like, it just...
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's just
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say is one thing, too, is going back to kind of like the education, like what they're teaching, is like, for example, I grew up like learning Photoshop. I remember that when there's like Photoshop CS2, you know, it's like, I think it's like CS6 now, and they come out like every 2 or 3 years. But like, I remember, you know, and I remember I took a class, I say fall semester of my sophomore year. It was an online Photoshop class. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be such an easy A, right? And I'm taking the class, and I'm just killing the work, and I'm not doing it like step by step out of the book or anything like that. And like, my teacher is just marking me down every single time. Every single assignment, I did it a different way than the book taught me, and she would mark me points off. And I had to email her every single time because she wasn't looking at the final product. She was looking at steps from the textbook. So it just goes to show you that there's teachers out there that don't even know anything or not really knowledgeable in the courses they're teaching. They're just, you know, put in a position to actually teach the courses, you know? Like, she's literally looking off probably like a sheet that other professors have made in the past of what steps to look for in the actual process, rather than the final product and like how it came out. You know what I mean? And it just blows my mind that's even a thing.
Well, it's rough. It's pretty messed up when, you know, teachers are forced to teach things that they don't know anything about. Like, it's not the teacher's fault. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you have to teach this class too if you want to teach this class, or you got to do this, and they don't know nothing about. Like, I had a teacher once who, I forget what class it was. I think it was like career class or like civic class or something, and the teacher didn't know anything about what he was teaching. He was just reading straight out of the book and you know, delivering it to us and saying, you know, here you go, learn this, and going exactly by the book. And the book was written a few decades ago, I don't know, but we're going by the book and it's going to work. And yeah, it's like this, you know, cookie cutter mentality where it's like every single person's going to get the same treatment and they're all going to learn the same thing, and this is old, but it's tried and true, so we're going to use this. But
well, dude, yeah, I feel like one of the most important things you can do in school is just suck the juice out of it. You know what I mean? Because just the mentality of school, like, it's just like, it's a general like, oh yeah, school sucks, you know, and nobody likes school. And if you like school, you're lame. That's basically the whole thing about school. So one of the biggest things that I did in my last few years of high school is I just tried to learn as much as possible things that were useful. You know, like anything possible that I could just kind of apply in my life. And I feel like if you're in school right now, if you're in college or whatever, do your best to just get the most out of it, because it is a resource that a lot of people take for granted, I feel like.
Oh, completely. And honestly, I don't like to say there's always a plan B. I always say, my plan B is my plan A. But, like, at the end of the day, it's something to fall back on, And everybody thinks that they need to be a 1 or a 2. I don't know if you guys follow Gary Vaynerchuk, but he always says something that there's people out there that were 7s of Facebook. They're the 7th guy on the Facebook, and they're trying to start billion-dollar businesses. Now, everyone thinks they need to start, like, a billion-dollar business, and it's so true, man. Like, I really enjoy the idea of, like, I'm not trying, of course, the goal is build a billion-dollar empire, and I get that, man, but, like, right now at 20 years old, I'm trying to build something that's pretty big, and I want to compete in this market for a little bit, and I want to dominate it, right? That's literally, like, that's my goal. It's not really about, like, actual, like, money value. There's a lot of people out there that are, like, 7s, and, like, they were born with mommy and daddy had a bunch of money and all that kind of shit, and they're trying to build, like, billion-dollar apps, and then, they get out into the real world and they find out that, nobody gives a shit who your dad is, right? And it's literally what it's like right now. And, like, people are jumping into markets that they have no experience in, and I'm not going to try to get on a tangent here, but there's a lot of kids that, that take for granted that what a degree can bring you. There's a lot of people out here that are trying to become entrepreneurs that aren't really fit to be one, and they could easily fall back on a degree and be very fine and successful in their life. But since they watch all this stuff on social media, they're trying to build a billion-dollar business now and, like, be this rich ass. It's just, like, to me, that's just, it's funny, but at the same time, it's depressing because, college is a good resource for people to fall back on.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, with entrepreneurship, it's exactly that. Everybody wants to be, the number one guy, the CEO, the one racking in, or not even, it's not racking in cash. Not everybody's, motivated by that. But
I put everything back in my business right now, dude. Exactly. I'm telling you, I'm draining everything out that could potentially come into my pocket, and I put it back in my business. And that's the only way it's going to be successful, bro. Because, like, dude, I'm just trying to expand,
Exactly. You're 20 years old. Like, what do you need? Like, do you need a Ferrari right now?
Exactly. And the thing is, like, I'm not gonna lie, I have some cool toys, but, like, I'm not a material person, bro. Like, I went through a phase, like, when I first started up Social Takeoff, and the idea behind it was I'm gonna make all this money, I'm gonna get all these girls and all this kind of stuff. But, like, it wasn't like that for me. Like, I remember buying a 50-inch TV, right? And I was like, oh, I want TV shopping, like a straight cash, it's just like, it felt so cool at the moment, and I felt like a badass, right? 20 years old, buying but the thing is, when I got home and I mounted it on my wall, the next day I was like, wow, this is stupid. I don't even watch TV,
Wow, you know how many times I've felt that, man, where I buy this nice new cool thing, this brand new car, or this, brand new guitar, and then it's like the next day, 2 days later, you're just like, and now what? So what? Like,
exactly. Material things don't make me happy, bro. Like, I found that out, like, early in my life, which really, really makes me happy. And I love it that, like, I found out that material things is not what drives me, like, early on in life, because I'm gonna live I would have, like, been going down a very fucking sad life trying to build material things and then go broke. I know a lot of people out there that make good money, man, like, but there's also people that are making good money and they're spending it like idiots. And, like, if you look at the average, like, I'm not saying there's some billionaires out there that come in with, like, the nicest watch, like, and they're decked out in really good gear, and I respect that, man. Like, if I had $1 billion and I didn't know what to do with my money, I'd probably do the same thing. But there's guys out there, too, like Zuckerberg, for example, huge, like, inspiration for me, comes out in, like, a hoodie and, like, Toms, Like, it's just, like, it just goes to show you that material things aren't important in his life. And, like, not saying, like, I want to be like Mark Zuckerberg, but, like, material things just don't drive me anymore, It's more or less helping people and building relationships. Like, I like to feel recognized by people, and it's kind of, like, depressing to say. Like, one thing, I grew up never really feeling, like, recognized, like, by people getting recognition, and I just love proving people wrong and having people be like, holy shit, this guy's, like, doing really well with himself,
Yeah, and I think that's a message that it's a message a lot of young people need to hear, and I think the three of us should really go out and make sure we keep this up, and it's not doing things for just that material outcome, but having some sort of other purpose. Like for you, you love to prove people wrong, and I love this too. I've noticed that as well. As I love when somebody tells me I can't do something, because then it's like, okay, is that right? I can't do that, and then I'll go and do it. And it's not to say I'll do this all the time, but especially when it's something I take pride in, like, my music. Like, for you, it's your social media marketing and stuff. I've spent so much time in this area, you know what I mean? And nobody can tell me I can't do it. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
And when they do, when they do.
There you go.
This is great. So one thing I think we've had a great episode here. Love talking to you, Daniel Kennedy. This is awesome. What kind of takeaways what kind of key takeaways do you think we could leave with our audience here? It's something they could go use and apply right now so that when they leave this podcast, their lives are better off and they've got some real strategies to go and use.
I gotta say, my number one thing, I know we didn't really touch on it too much, is choose your circle wisely. I love the saying that you are if you surround yourself with 4 broke ass college students that smoke weed all day, you're going to become the 5th. Or if you surround yourself, guys that are running business, and you guys are really pushing it and following their dreams, you're going to be the 5th guy to follow his dreams. So I really like to say, really look at who you're really surrounding yourself with, because at the end of the day, it's more or less about what's going to affect your future. You know what I mean? If you're surrounding yourself with really bad people that are going to bring you down a bad path, then you're going to be the next person to go down a bad path. It's really simple. It's to me it's simple as that. And to some people, I guess it's a lot harder because they're really drawn in by their friends and their followers sometimes. But really, take a look at who you're friends with and who you really surround yourself with, because your brain is like a sponge, and we're at the end of the day we're consumers, and you're gonna bounce ideas off people, and if people are really, there's one good saying. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but they say, great minds talk about ideas. I think it's and then small minds talk about people. I'll be completely honest with you, when I took that into consideration, the people I hang out with, bro, and talk to, all they do is talk about ideas. Nobody really talks about people. But when I go back to my fraternity and I'm actually dropping my fraternity because it's just I don't want to hang out. It's really, I had to cut a lot of people out of my life, and you do, man. You really got to cut people out of your life that are going to drag you down. So I recently had to kind of leave my fraternity and stuff, which isn't the biggest deal to me, but you gotta be able to break away from circles, and just if I look at it like this, man, if there's one person that really brings me back, I drop them. One negative person around me, I drop them as a friend, and I guess it's kind of harsh, but it's the only way I can focus on what I want to do. I don't need any side chatter or being derailed from my goals.
Absolutely.
I totally understand where you're coming from. Because everything in your life, whether it be the people around you, the entertainment that you consume, the education you consume, whatever it is, it's all affecting every little piece of tomorrow, your future. And so it's so important to make sure those people around you are actually serving you and not, bringing you down in any way, right? You've got friends who are encouraging you. You've got friends who are inspiring you or even just challenging you. I love... I've got a couple friends who are way better at guitar than I am, and anytime I see them, anytime we get together, I am just pumped. I'm super inspired to reach that next level and catch up to those guys, right? And so that's why you want to have another quote that I love that I brought this is, not only do you want to have 4 to 5 people who are above you and better than you that you're striving to be, but you also want to have 4 to 5 people who you're trying to bring up to your level as well, and
exactly.
You're trying to mentor them and bring them. So, yeah, choosing your circle is so important.
One thing I could say is, I don't know if you guys know who Galen Dill is, but he's killing it right now with a product placement marketing. He's 24 years old. He lives in a high rise in Austin, Texas. You guys ever heard of him?
Yeah, actually, I met Gallant on a blab one time. We were doing a blab chat, and
Gallant's a huge mentor to me, man. It's just because and it's crazy to think that my mentor is 24 years old, but he became a really good friend of mine too. And the reason is, man, he gets what I'm going through right now. I'm going through a really big change where I have to cut out. I'm in an environment that's all about partying and drinking. And I'm trying to build a really successful business. So he gets it, and because he grew up in Austin, it's a college area, but he always, it's just I'm competitive with him. We compete, and he lets me compete with him, even though he's a lot higher up on a higher level. He lets me compete so I can get up there. I thought that, probably 2 years ago, I thought that all these people that were millionaires, billionaires were dickheads. And that was so ignorant of me to think that, because when I actually started talking to some of the most successful people in the social media world right now, they're trying to bring me up, bro. They're trying to give me tips to be successful. They're trying to put me in contact with other successful people. It's just they're really, it's not that. Everyone's trying to help you. I realize the more successful you are, the more willing you are to help people. I feel there's a lot of broke people that just want to put people down all day. And I just realized that, there's a lot of good people out there that are really successful that are all about helping others.
Yeah, it's huge.
No, completely. And then I guess one other takeaway I would have to say is, don't take advice from somebody you wouldn't switch places with. So like if you want to build like $1 million business, then you can't take advice from somebody who's making $45,000 a year, because they haven't built $1 million business before. One of my biggest and hardest challenges was kind of breaking away from the strength of like being dictated about like how to think about my father, kind of say, because my dad I grew up in like, watching him white collar, he makes good money, but obviously I want to make more and be more successful than my father. That's not a bad thing. It's good to strive for those kind of goals. But, he kind of didn't think that any of this was possible. But like he supports me now. But at the time when I first was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, Daniel, focus on school, get a 3.0 GPA. You know what I mean? Like get a 3.0 GPA. And it was never like, try to go after your dreams. You know what I mean? Try to go after your dreams. Like, I get the whole thing, stay in school, but I really believe if you want to make $1 million, you need to take advice from somebody who's making $1 million, and you can't take advice from somebody who's making anything below.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, don't take advice from somebody you wouldn't want to switch places with. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Okay,
Bye.
so
that's about it, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome like topic, man. I really appreciate that. And so one quick question before we wrap this up, like what are your future goals for like the next 5-10 years? Like what are you planning on doing for, your future?
Honestly, right now, I know they say plan for your future, but right now I'm focused on the present, man. I have goals in the sense of like, I want to get my social media marketing company. I want to have it in at least like 2 or 3 different states, probably in the next like 3 to 4 years. And those are like, long-term goals. But right now I'm just focused on, building relationships. I feel like if I build more relationships, the more clients I'm going to have and the more money I'm going to make at the end of the day. To me, it's, again, you want to build a $1 billion empire, but I feel like you got to take it step by step. And at a young age, I'm more focused at actually learning than I am trying to teach people, right? So like, again, social media marketer, building an academy, that's one thing. But at the same time, social media is changing every day, so I'm learning, right? So I'm more about learning rather than trying to teach people and try to really grow my business through learning. If that makes sense. I'm a younger kid. I got to take all the help I can get at this moment and really learn. And the more I learn, the better my business is going to do. So that's how I kind of look at it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. This was an awesome episode of Leading Life. It was awesome to have you on the podcast, man. And we're hopefully going to get more people like yourself, entrepreneurs, with goals and with a good background and a story and stuff like that. It's awesome to have people like that on the podcast.
Oh, for sure. And thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. You definitely brought some real value for our listeners here. So I'm pumped for everybody. Pumped.
Awesome, man.
Sounds good. All right, so we'll keep in touch, of course, but you take it easy, and thank you all for listening and watching. If you enjoyed the episode, share it to your friends. Share it to somebody who is looking to build a business like Daniel and who is actually maybe even in college. So,
awesome, guys. You guys have a good day, all right?
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thank you. Peace.
Peace, bro.